Hi, guys. Can somebody give me a heads up if you can hear me okay and everything's good to go here? So if you can drop something in the chat, that would be fantastic. Awesome. I don't know that you want to see me, just maybe you want to hear me. I'm teasing. All right, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. So again, we're going to be talking about weight loss. And first of all, we want it to be successful. And then we want it to be sustained. So we want you to lose the weight, get to the weight you want to be, but then we also want you to be able to keep that weight off. And it really becomes, on my end, it's one of those things, it's sort of like a common sense thing, but not necessarily on your end. So again, as we go through this, any questions you have, I want this to be informative for you. So if you have questions, please throw them in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye out and make sure to get those answered. So I think we have a few more people rolling in here, but let me hop over and get this presentation started here. All right. All right, guys, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here. And again, for those of you just sort of joining, come on in. My name's Dr. Susan Plank. If we haven't gotten to meet, it's a pleasure to have you here. We will be talking about successful and sustained weight loss. I want this to be geared towards you and your questions, your needs. So please make sure to use the chat and I'll try to get all the questions answered. If there's something you miss, of course, it's the same sort of basic content, but the questions might be different. This will be the same webinar, but again, this coming Monday at 6 p.m. So, you know, I am blessed to actually get to do what I love to do. It's a joy. I'm very motivated to help folks that are motivated to help themselves. There's nothing worse than folks wanting help, but not really willing to take the steps they need. So, you know, it's not lost on me that you guys are giving up time in the middle of your day to be here. And I really do appreciate that. So as with any of the webinars I do monthly, I do have sources. My whole process is on sort of research and making sure that things are data-driven, scientific, and I have resources if it's something you guys are interested in. So while we're all sort of accustomed to hearing about weight loss, you know, the reality of it is it's part of the sales pitch that I don't necessarily trust. And yet here I find myself, you know, in this realm of trying to offer weight loss to folks that have really, truly struggled. And, you know, it's one of those ones that, you know, you hear these things of, you know, lose 20 pounds in 10 days, or, you know, you hear these things that it just can't be true. And the reality of it isn't true. But what we're looking at is also too, we want to fix what I have coined as the broken body syndrome. There's very specific things that make up our metabolism. And if we don't get those right, if there's something wrong with those, it's going to inhibit somebody's ability to actually lose weight in the first place. And so when I find folks that are just sort of eating less and less calories, which women, that's notoriously us. That's what women tend to do. You know, oh, I lost 1.5 pounds, so now I'm going to cut my calories in half. There has to be a better way and a smarter way. So I do want to start off with 3 things that I feel are very important for anyone that's looking, whether you want to lose 3 pounds or whether you want to lose 30 or more, is we have to know what foods you can eat that don't tweak your metabolism, right? Because the foods will cause that broken body syndrome. So even if it's healthy foods, if it's perceived foods that you think are healthy, they might not be healthy for you. And I think a lot of you were sort of tagging along as we did the sugar detox. And it was a pleasure to have so many of you do that. And I think I could really see the light bulbs coming on for folks when they started to realize when you actually start to count sugars, where they're coming from. And you start to see them sort of slipped into foods to make it where they're palatable, but also in the natural things we're eating. So the first thing is we want to know what foods are healthy for you as an individual and your wellness and weight loss goals. The second one is your blood sugar and the sugar you're consuming. So sugar is coming in, even if someone's working with me and we're meticulously watching the sugars, it's tough. It's, if any of you are on there, you know that it's a hard thing to do. Like, geez, what else can I eat here? But what happens is any sugar we eat, even if it's from a natural source, an orange, right? Citruses, even if it's a natural source, we have very little time between when we eat that and the amount of time we have to burn it off, meaning we have to get off our tushes and we have to be active. We have to physically burn it off. If we don't, in a short amount of time, and it's less than an hour and a half, some folks, it's 20 to 45 minutes. If they're sort of a slow metabolizer, if they're a faster metabolizer, they get a little bit longer to burn that off. But that blood sugar, your glucose level, is there because of what you've chosen to eat. And if you don't burn it off, that is going to be stored as fat. And it's much harder. It's much longer, much harder, much more frustrating to burn it off in the long term than it is to either not eat it, cut back on how much you're eating, or to burn it off right then and there. So, and then the number one, so I've gone in reverse order, 3, 2, 1. Number one thing that I see is not eating enough. That mentality, it's across the board, but women are really tend to be more self-conscious about their bodies and really just not eating enough. You know, a huge part of how I feel is I want you to love your body. I want you to love your life where you are right now. And then as we work to make you healthier, or as we work to maybe lose some weight, you just love it more, but you actually love where you're at right now, right? You look at that mirror in the morning and you go, man, baby, I'm sexy. I got it going on, right? I want you to really, if you're not doing it right now, I want you to do it. I don't care. I don't care if you have 60 pounds to lose. I want you looking in that mirror every morning and I want you to say, I am beautiful. I am sexy. I am hot. I got it going on, right? You've got to reinforce that to yourself, because otherwise, when you're limiting calories, you're telling yourself that you're not attractive and that you're less than. So please, 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 right? Eat the foods. We got to know what foods are perfect for your metabolism. That usually involves some type of testing. We've got to know what your blood sugar is and what we need to do to get it in a normal range. That also incorporates foods. That could be a blood sugar level. But number one, I want to make sure you're not starving yourself and that you are getting sufficient calories in your diet to keep your body running. So what we want to do is we want to really shift the focus from dieting, right, and weight loss to the long term of what do I need to do for my health? If we start looking at it right now of what do I need to do, what's the best things to do for my health today? How can I change today what I'm eating or how much I'm moving? Whatever you decide to do today and tomorrow and the next day, that's already changing your future. So that's the focus I really want you to sort of look at and consider. Because if you look at media, if you look at the news, you're going to always be hearing about the fad diet, the do this and lose 30 pounds, do that. And you just are sort of getting bounced around physically and emotionally. So I really want us to take that shift away from focusing on numbers. And again, those of you that have worked with me or are working with me, I want you to realize how I am almost pushed into telling somebody how many calories I want them to eat. It's not something I come out of the gun and say, this is exactly how many calories I want you to eat, unless it's somebody that's what they need to do. Our focus, our shift, at least for the first couple of weeks, if not 6 weeks, is always about learning about food, making that shift of thinking, starting to be proud of who and what you are as you are, because that's only going to grow. And we want it to grow as you feel stronger and feel healthier. So the big part of this is really, I want you to feel balanced, right? I want you to get back to balance. And that includes eating in balance, sleep, right? Exercise. Can you get moving? What can we do to bring the body back in to balance? We tend, again, with weight loss to think of it only as a diet, only as food. And yet that's just not the way our body looks at it. There has to be a balance between our diet, what we're eating, our lifestyle, which incorporates sleep and exercise, support mechanism. I know there's someone on here that I'll tell you, boy, they're on this call right now, and they have a hubby that said, hey, I'm going to sort of do this with you, and I'm going to hang in there and do what you're doing and try to eat what you're eating. And last thing I heard, this hubby is, again, hopefully he's looking in the mirror saying, man, I look good, I look mighty fine, right? Because he just does, right? He's made the work, he's done it, and he's done it being supportive. So I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to sort of look at these negative thoughts. And if you're hearing it from the news, if you're hearing it from family members, heaven forbid, but if you're even hearing it from your support group, I hate to say it, you're going to have to find a new support group. I don't want you getting sort of bashed from family and friends. We need a way to find support for you as you go through this, because this is a lifestyle. This is not days or weeks that this is going to happen. So why do people regain the weight? There's many reasons for this. And like I said, it's typically, if you hear that they've done it, that they've lost a large amount of weight, and then unfortunately they've turned around and regained it. There's usually six areas that I'm looking at for weight loss that I really want to evaluate. And those are the 6 of this broken body syndrome. And a lot of folks might have all of them, or 4 out of the 6. Some folks might only have 1. But the problem is, if that is not fixed, each one of them will affect your metabolism. And if the broken part of your metabolism isn't addressed, isn't found out, isn't fixed, you can try to starve yourself to lose weight. Typically, you're losing, though, the muscle and the water, and the fat stays put. So you're losing weight, but becoming less healthy. I know that's a little confusing, and I'm happy to go into it a little bit further. But if we don't find out the reason for your specific weight gain, and I'll tell you, folks, rarely is it somebody's eating too much. It's just not the thing. Do we maybe have to change the food choices because of their blood sugar, because of their cholesterol, inflammatory levels? Absolutely. But I can't say across the board that a majority of the clients I work with are eating too much. It's just a fallacy. It's just not true. And so therefore, then we have to break that mindset that it's all just calorie driven. It's all just, well, I just stop eating or starve myself or, whatever, and I'm going to lose weight. And there's all these sort of tricks and things that people are trying. Oh, I'm going to do keto. Well, if you're doing keto, then you're high fat, right? But how many folks just on this call have tried keto and, maybe they lost 4 or 5 pounds and then that was it. The reality of it is most folks are sensitive to dairy, or they're sensitive to eggs, and dairy and eggs are a big part of trying to do a keto diet. So if you're one of those ones that didn't work for you, or you're trying intermittent fasting, which again is sort of another justification of, well, we're just going to eat less calories because we're going to compress the time of what we can eat. It might work for some folks, but are you getting the nutrients you need in that time frame and in the food you're choosing to eat? Right now, 90% of Americans, this is remarkable, 90% of Americans are nutritionally deficient in something, nutritionally deficient. If you're one of those ones that you aren't even getting 1,000 calories, and you should be eating, everybody on this call should be eating more than that. If you're not even getting 1,000 calories, you are putting your body into starvation mode, and you are nutritionally deficient. You are. It's just a fact. So, these are the types of things that we want to look at, and it is part of the medical profession. They don't, and they've never come up with a good reason or a good way scientifically of how to lose weight. They just say eat less and exercise more. And that's exactly how and why I've come up with the broken body syndrome, is because no one in that equation is taking into account an individual's body, an individual's metabolism. And it's really affecting people's self-esteem, how they feel about themselves, and their ability to successfully lose weight. So the basis of mine, and I think any healthy dietary plan, should be protein, nice lean protein. We want to stay away from things that are processed. We want to stay away from prepackaged things. This is across the board, but specifically for protein. If you're going to do a protein powder, I would say try to stick with a vegan one unless we know for sure that you can tolerate dairy. Let me just do a little aside here on that type of testing. There's a company that's going gangbusters right now. It's called Everlywell. And online, they are selling food sensitivity kits really very inexpensively. The problem is, folks, is number one, they don't have anyone that really helps you interpret your results. And number two, I'm an expert at interpreting results. I can't interpret Everlywell's results. I've had multiple clients that thought, well, I'm going to save a few bucks and I'm going to order that and do the Everlywell test. I don't know how you interpret results that, hey, you're sensitive to gluten, but you can eat wheat bread. That's the type of results you're getting. Gluten is a protein found in wheat. So their system is flawed. It's greatly flawed. And so if you or anyone you know of is thinking, oh, I'm going to invest in one of these tests, please know that you're going to get flawed information. It doesn't give you really information about how those foods are affecting your immune system. They're just telling you that generally you're sensitive to a food, but foods made of proteins, and that's the sensitivity to the proteins that tend to get us in trouble. So back to the protein. I do like folks to start off with breakfast. Now, here's the thing. You might not want to, when you first wake up, you might not want to have a whole sit-down meal. But this is exactly why I want a nice quality lean protein as a shake or smoothie going in within an hour of when you wake up. Protein and fiber are the nutrients that stabilize our blood sugar. Have you ever had a day where you woke up and it's like, oh, I'm going to have cereal, or I'm going to have oatmeal, and you load your fruit and everything else on there, or maybe you put brown sugar on it or something else, and then do you feel like you're craving sugar the whole rest of the day? You have your coffee maybe with some sugar in it. Not you ones that just did the sugar detox, I know you know better. But if you're doing that type of thing, as soon as we start our day with sugar, those sugar cravings are kicking in, right? It's spiking our blood sugar, and as it drops, we want more. So we reach for more sugar or another stimulant. So really, if you're not necessarily now a breakfast eater, or you're attempting to do the intermittent fasting, I would say we first of all need to make sure you are getting, like I said, at least, most of the time it's more 1,300 to 1,500 calories basis that you need. And then it depends on your activity level and age and things like that. But please don't do the starvation. Please don't do under 1,000 calories consistently. You are setting yourself up for injury and nutrient deficiencies. So you can mix the protein powder if we are worried about calories. You can mix it with water, but otherwise go for an unsweetened non-dairy milk, almond. There's some other great choices out there. Hemp is one I like. It's a little bit harder to find. Coconut, but again, you want it unsweetened. Oat, if maybe you like oat milk, but if you're sensitive to gluten, oats are going to have gluten unless specifically said that they don't. So oat milks are going to contain gluten. And that is one of the foods that are highly, highly inflammatory. Other sort of things for breakfast. I do want to share the site Rawmazing, rawmazing.com. If you go there, they have some wonderful things that are high in fiber, low in sugar, great breakfast ideas. Breakfast chia pudding. It's wonderful. You can put it in your fridge the night before, and it's ready to go for you in the morning. I tend to do the oatmeal, and then I add flax seeds and some unsweetened coconut, and I do my almond milk and some blueberries and some walnuts, things like that. So I try to really make it as well-rounded and get as much fiber in first thing in the morning as I can. So again, and I'll even put the protein mix on my little concoction there. So the protein and the fiber are going to be stabilizers. They're going to stabilize your blood sugar. Anything else you want to do? You want to do, chicken sausage, turkey bacon, avocado on gluten-free toast. Again, knock yourselves out, but please stay away from just sort of cereals and the sugary types of things. We really want to start the day with a nice lean protein. So The best that I like is the single ingredient. When I'm working with a client, I'll say, hey, let's keep it clean. And sometimes I have to catch myself because they might not know what I'm talking about when I say that. But keep it clean means let's stick with one food, right? If we're going to have a lean protein, so let's have a chicken breast, and let's have some broccoli, steamed broccoli, and let's have a nice salad, and let's do, for me, it's an avocado oil. Let's keep ingredients down to one. That's where we get in trouble with processed foods when you're looking at the label and half of them you can't even pronounce, but it's one thing and it's 27 ingredients to make that one thing. So please be cautious and please try to really keep your diet as clean as possible, meaning each thing is one ingredient. I'm not a fan of anything that you can buy that's sort of pre-mixed and you're doing it on a daily basis. And every now and then is sort of a cheat snack or cheat meal is fine, but not an everyday type of thing. So stocking up and snacking, I would highly recommend you check out that Rawmazing, RAWMAZING.com. They have some wonderful ideas of how to cut back sort of on the breads and the pasta, even if you're doing the gluten-free, because the raw eating, and there's a wave of this in the country, eating raw means that foods can't be heated over a certain temperature. So we're getting them in their more natural state. And that is going to ensure that we're apt to get more vitamins and minerals out of those foods. As soon as you start processing a food, as soon as you start heating it, you are losing the antioxidants, the minerals, the vitamins. You're breaking down the fiber that's in that. And that is really what's sort of happening. So I do invite you to check out my website, norwellwellness.com, and I have a little link there that you can sign up for. It's a little program, Drop 5 Fast, and I take you through some little videos and to-do sheets of how to get your kitchen stocked. If you might think of it and say, oh, this is sort of kindergartenish, I'm not going to actually do these steps. Trust me, if you don't, until you take this seriously, you're not going to be as successful with your weight loss as what you really could be, or regaining your health. You have to take it seriously. You have to get the stuff out of your house. When your blood sugar is dropping, when you've just had a rough day, when you've had a disagreement with the hubby, you are going to reach for some food of comfort, and chances are it's going to have sugar in it. So do me a favor, get it out of the house. So chances are, if you want it, then you've got to go grab your mask, get in your car, drive to where it is, put your mask on, go in and buy it, right? That sounds like a pain in the rear end. I'd rather just blow it off or go for a walk around the block. Choose healthier choices to deal with emotions, okay? So yes, limiting excess sugar. It was really enjoyable, and I think the timing of it was perfect. Those of you that were there, I hope you thought so too. We just finished up the sugar detox not this past, but the last Sunday, and we did it intentionally over Easter and Passover, and it was amazing. And I always like doing those types of things when you get an active group that's sharing things and involved and have great ideas and willing to share sort of the pitfalls that they've gone through too. So we had I think it was a very interactive group. It was wonderful, and great feedback from that. And it was very true how much sugar people looked at. There was a woman that was doing it as part of email. She didn't do it on Facebook with us. And her comments were really enlightening of that she was starting to read labels and looking at how much she relied on sugar to get herself through the day. And yet she continually thought that she had a healthy diet. And she couldn't imagine when I'd say, hey, I don't want your blood sugar over 90, your glucose level. Well, how the heck is that must just be age that my blood sugar is that high. So really, really interesting. And I do want you to start reading labels. If it says added sugars, just drop it and please step away, because we don't need added sugars. It's just detrimental to our health. I do want to take the time, because we've talked about protein and now we're talking about sugar. And so I know there's this thought process that for some, well, I need something. You stop at the convenience store. I'm not going to have time for a healthy lunch, so I'm going to grab a protein bar. Please be very, very, very cautious with those. They sort of tick all the boxes. They're going to have dairy in there, which is inflammatory for 80% or more of the population. They're a mishmash. The list of ingredients is huge. And typically, even the ones I sort of chuckle that they'll have 30 grams of protein, but please look at the label, because you're going to see that they have 36 to 38 grams of sugar. And when I'm working with someone to try to help them lose some weight and get a little healthier, we start that cutoff at 30 grams for a day. And so if you're going to eat a protein bar that has 36 or 38 grams of sugar, and you're thinking it's a healthy choice, and some of these pre-mixed protein drinks, please start to read the labels. Please really consider what your choices are. Now, we do see quite a bit water, and this is one of the most interesting things in working with folks that I have. I sort of do a biohacking, right? So I'm trying to figure out how somebody's biochemistry works, and I know how I want it to work. So what do I need to change for that individual? What do we need to change in diet, supplements, things, so we can hack what their biochemistry is doing and get it to function more the way I want it, right? So we can fix that broken body syndrome. Water is the number one thing. When I look at folks that they're getting on their scale in their house in the morning, and I see on my end where we're at, if they lost weight and how they're doing, all honestly, I have to look at is their water level for that day. And I can tell you if that person has lost any weight, if they burned some fat from the day before. The water is the driving force for successful weight loss. It is the go-between that so many folks are missing. And I know it's challenging, because some folks say, that's all I'm drinking is water. I'm just drinking water and running to the bathroom. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that the water is able to get into the cells. And this is part of that broken body syndrome, that for certain conditions, the cell membranes are unhealthy. The cell membranes are toxic, and it can be due to diet and some other biochemical imbalances, hormones and stress and things like that. We need to get that water, not only as a volume, we need to get it in, but we need to clean up the cell membranes so the water can get into the cells. So otherwise the water is going in and it's going right back out. And even though you've been consistently, hey, I'm drinking water, I feel like I'm going to float away, it's not getting where it needs to go. And that's the important part of it. So not only do we need you drinking water, which a lot of folks don't, but then we actually need to make sure the water is getting in the cells, so it's getting where it needs to go. I will tell you, if you're not one that's been drinking much water and you want to try to increase it, our water mechanism in our brain is right beside sugar. And so one can trigger the other one. So if you're getting a craving for sugar, please try to have a glass or two of water before you reach for the Hershey Kiss, and see if water will sort of calm that craving down. The other part of it is I want it to be nice, clean, fresh water. I don't necessarily want it to be carbonated. I don't, we don't necessarily want to get into where it's, fruit juice added. If you're adding anything to water, in my professional opinion, it is no longer water. Okay. If you're adding something to water, you've now made it a food. So it's good for a treat. It's great this time of year. Slice up some cucumbers, some lemon, whatever it is, and have a little container there with flavored water. That's great. But please don't be pressing juices or mixing water and juices. As soon as you do that, it just becomes a food. The other part of that, and it will contain sugar. The other part of it is I don't want you to just try to increase your water intake dramatically very quickly. That can lead to, you'll feel, a headache because you're increasing the volume of fluid in your body. So we want you to be steady and consistent. First of all, I want you to realize that you most likely do need more water. And so what I do is I'll sit sort of quart jars and glasses around, or almost whatever room I'm going to, at my office at home, and then my, kitchen, and wherever I go to, it's already sitting there, right? I fill it up in the morning and it's sitting there. All I have to do is drink it. I want to set myself up to maintain hydration. A lot of folks out there are in the low 40s, 38 to 41%, something like that. Folks, I want you at 53 is sort of my cutoff. I want you in the 50s as a nice percentage of water. So more fruit and veggies, absolutely. I would prefer, if we're looking at a plate, I should have done it. Maybe I'll do it for Monday night's webinar. A plate, and if we can get 3/4 of that plate veggies in as much as a natural state as we can. If you can do the like I said, broccoli, cauliflower, those things, and just sort of lightly steam it so you still have some crunch. I just don't want it cooked to where you can cut it with a fork or it becomes a paste. So half of your plate is, I want it to be a nice salad, greens, some type of chewy, and then 1/4 of your plate, like another type of vegetable. A little sliver of your plate is going to be the fats, a little sliver, and probably another little sliver about equal to that is going to be starch. The reality is we can, if we want to lose weight, we can really limit the starches, because a little starch adds on a lot of weight. And then the rest of the plate is going to be the lean protein. So we're trying to get 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. It is tough. It's a challenge. And this leads me to why doing weight loss correctly is so hard. It takes time. If you're going to do it the right way, if you're going to do it by eating to be healthy, and you don't want to spend a fortune, you're going to do this stuff on your own. It takes time to chop, dice, slice, right? Think of what you're going to do. So please set yourself up for success. Get some recipes that you love. Again, that's in my Drop 5 Fast program. Come up with a few recipes that you love. I don't care if you get them from Raw Amazing or something else, and sort of have something go-to ready to go that you can mix fairly quickly, and snack on. An apple, a pear, something like that. It's going to have a little bit of sugar, but it's going to have fiber and fluid as well. Okay. So sleep, I can't stress this enough. With the stress, with the ongoing pandemic, sleep is just that much more important. It's when we relax, it's when our brain gets to dream. It's when we get to heal. It's when water moves from one tissue to another tissue. That's why folks are actually taller in the morning than they are at the end of the day, because the water is flowing into the discs in the spine. And so if you measure yourself and you want to be taller, make your appointment first thing in the morning because you're taller then. So sleep and good quality sleep is just so vitally important to an overall wellness plan. And it's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, of each one of these is an important part of the whole if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain your health. So, I want you to look at each thing and say, well, I'm pretty good this week with the eating. Can now I start to work on my sleep? Maybe I go to bed at a more consistent time. Maybe I go to bed a little bit earlier. Maybe I turn off the TV or another screen. What is it that's going on, and how can you support your sleep better? If you're one that you're a coffee drinker, maybe we need to have you cut back on the coffee, that's interrupting a sleep cycle. If the blood sugar is dropping, that can interrupt a sleep cycle. So I sort of challenge you, because we tend to look at our goals or our dreams as something that's unattainable in the future. Well, I want to lose 15 pounds, right? Or I want to lose 45 pounds. And we see that and we're not happy with ourselves until we reach that goal. Let's try and turn that on its head if we get nothing else out of this today. But can you start to say, hey, right now, maybe you get on the scale when it's 175. And so you get on the scale when it's 175, but you're going to feel really good when you're at 165. Don't beat yourself up that scale's not going down. What I want you to say to yourself is, I'm not going to let it go up. I'm not going to let that scale go up. I have a plan in place so that scale is not going to go to 176 or 178 or 180. If right now you can walk a block, right, then I want you to make that your goal. I can walk the block 4 days a week. And then you're going to do it. You're not going to do less. Okay, so let's sort of look at our goals, because we set up goals. And then, like I said, it becomes almost unattainable, that we always push it into the future. And therefore we always justify, well, there's a holiday, or there's this sugar or this dessert, or I love this that my mom makes, or it's my favorite meal. And then we fall off our lifestyle, right? Our lifestyle pays the price because we're wishy-washy. Let's keep where we're at. That doesn't mean we're not going to strive to make changes and improve to get to the weight you want to, or to get to the strength. Or if you're going to the gym, you're not going to go less than 20 pounds on a certain machine, right? You're going to do that the rest of your life. What is it? If you're 55, you're 65, what's the weight that when you're 75, 80, 85, you want to say, I can still do this? And I'd say you want to make that for your sleep as well. What is the amount of sleep that you feel good at? Is it 6 hours? Is it 7? For some, it's maybe 8 or 9. And others could be like, oh my gosh, I'm thrilled if I get 4. What is it? And then don't go below that. If you find yourself getting stressed out, or there's financial concerns, or your eating habits have slipped and it's affecting your sleep, then hey, I promised myself I wouldn't get less than whatever your amount is, 7 hours of sleep. So let's sort of turn those goals on their head and make them that we're already there. We've met our goal, right? We're there. We're not going to let things get any worse. We're not going to let things get any less with sleep. We're only going to improve it. So really, let's set ourselves up for success when it comes to goals. Stress and food. This honestly is a big one. I just sort of touched on it, right? We are emotional beings, and we have been taught in an early age to find comfort in food. So we use it as a reward, right? Hey, little Johnny, you were so good today. Or, hey, you got an A on your test. Let's go get some French fries at the drive-thru. So as adults, I'd love it if we could start to challenge the messages that we're sending with food. Because wouldn't it be better to say, hey, little Johnny, you got an A on your test. Here's a nice, big, juicy apple. Wouldn't it be cool if our society started to look at things that way instead of things that are actually going to hurt little Johnny's health? So please sort of be aware of where you're at with stress. What are your triggers? Is it work? Is it just the news with the junk that seems to change every day about the pandemic? Do you have certain friends that, boy, they're fun to be around. They're great when it's party time. But boy, they're not the most supportive when you really need somebody to talk to. I want you to start to be aware of these relationships, because those tend to be the ones that trigger the desire for the food, the junk food. They at least pacify it. They might be the ones that make it okay, right? So please, honestly, pay attention to those. Start to be aware of those, and let's see if we can find other ways to really do things in a healthier way than reaching for food. So again, we talked a little bit about the intermittent fasting, and some people swear by it. And like I said, I am, if it works for you, I think that's fantastic. My only concern is people tend to be dropping out a meal, and then are they getting everything, the foundational needs that they need for their body? Are they able to still get it in that limited amount? And otherwise, we have to work within the constructs then, because some folks feel more stable if they eat the same thing every day, right? Oh, I eat this every day for lunch, and that works for them. Other folks, oh no, I like variety, I like texture, I like hot and cold things different. So it's a little bit unique and different for everyone. But always when I am trying to work with the individual, I want to work with what works for them. We need to make it work that they can get healthy and lose the weight by meeting the requirements that their body has, but doing it in a way that they're actually going to be able to do. Not everybody's going to have extra time in the week to only become a vegan, right? And eat vegetables only. So, keep that in mind, that whatever way or direction, if you're looking for a way to lose weight, it has to work for you. If it doesn't, it's just not going to work. I've had only a handful of clients, not even that, 2 or 3 through the years, and I've been doing this almost 30 years, that it sort of caught me off guard that they wanted to lose weight, but they didn't want to have to eat vegetables. And so, that's not something they shared with me up front. And so, it's going to be pretty tough if you're not a vegetable eater to be able to get the nutrients that you need if we're going to sort of take vegetables out of the mix. So that's where now I have to look at, not everyone is a prospect for my approach and how I do things. But I've gotten some really fantastic, wonderful results. And I always will strive to, what do we need to do for you to get your metabolism optimized? So yeah, so we did, and again, any questions on the intermittent fasting, I'm more than happy to address those more specifically. There's some different plans and things out there. If anybody's ever tried it, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But it can be helpful for some. Yeah. Exercise is recommended, but again, it has to be personalized. If I have someone that, and I have just the beginning of the year, an individual that I thought, when I looked at the labs, this person is a walking heart attack, blood sugar through the roof, cholesterol through the roof, heaviest they'd ever been in their life. There's no way, folks, no way that I was putting them on an exercise plan. I didn't even want them walking. But once we started to get the weight off them, once we got them down about 18, 20 pounds, hey, now it's time, right? Now it's time that now we can start to make sure that we're getting the food in that they need. We can start to look at other aspects of their lifestyle, which is exercise. And we want to start off with really, is it just walking? Swimming is fantastic. Things that are easier on the joints, but we also want to take into account the muscles and build up the muscles with resistive exercises, because the muscle is what burns the fat. Okay, so again, this is very, very personalized. And again, we're in this sort of tough space where not necessarily everyone or many people are comfortable going back to a gym, but there's some wonderful online programs, and I'd be more than happy to help you with those to see what we can do to help you. So the other part of this is I want you to realize, even with clients that they've already lost 30 pounds, 40 pounds, you know, they're cruising along. There's still frustration involved. It's not like they just drop the weight. There's ups and downs. There's good days and bad days. And like I said earlier, just with the water, so much of it depends on mentally what you're going through, physically what you're able to bring to the game, your eating habits. There's a lot of variables in weight loss. So please don't beat yourself up. I don't want you to go sort of hog crazy either, of like, wow, I screwed up, so now I'm just going to eat myself through the rest of the day. No, let's sort of use common sense, but tomorrow's a new day. Let's get back to it, right? Push the water if you can. If you have a screw up, if you have a family gathering, something, and you can't keep yourself to 1 or 2 bites of, a dessert, you end up polishing off 2 or 3 desserts. Try to swing that back around and let's start the next day. Again, like I said, let's turn goals on their head. Let's not make our goal so far in the future that we're beating ourselves up that we can't get it. We're right at our goal, and all we want to do is what can we do so we don't go higher than where we are right now? That's what I want you to look at. I don't want you to go on any higher. If you want to lose weight, what's your plan today that you're not going to go any higher on that scale than what you are right now? And whatever that is, I want you to stick to it, because it is going to work. The other thing is, please surround yourself with positive folks. It's one of those ones, like I said, I just found the sugar detox was great. And the Facebook group, folks are in there. They're at all different parts of their programs. I actually have some that are trying to gain weight, right? So, we're all sort of on our own path and on our own journey, but folks just want to be supportive. It's really, really a good group. And like I said, my motivating factor is I love working with folks that are motivated to improve their health. And I know that I've attracted folks like you that I've gotten to work with, get to know, that you want the same things and you guys exude that energy. So you're always really very positive when interacting with each other. And I just think that's great. But look for some nice meditation things. We did have a part of that stress reduction in the sugar detox. So you can head over to the Norwin Wellness Facebook page and pick up some of those. You'll just have to go back a week or 2. But there's some great links. Look up Delta Waves on YouTube and listen to some of those. Those are a brain wave that's very calming and is really soothing to fall to sleep with, to help get your brain out of that frenetic pace and bring it down to something more peaceful and sleep inducive. And again, I want you to build yourselves up. I'm completely serious when I say I want you looking in that mirror in the morning, bearing it all, baby, and saying, I love every inch of you. I just love you. And it's only going to get better from here, because that's exactly the attitude we need to have. So we're finishing up here. I do appreciate you guys being here. And again, any questions you have, any comments, let's check the chat. Let's see. Females in my family hit their 60s. They tend to regain weight in the abdomen. Now that I've hit that milestone, congratulations, I'm finding them also dealing with that. Is that something I can change, or am I doomed by heredity? No, that actually is. So that's a great question. And the other part that I want to bring up with that is stress hormones. Our stress hormones, adrenal hormones, will decrease as we age. They are the preventative hormones. So if you ever hear of preventative medicine, that's what we're going to look at. So if that's a concern for you, and especially with the environment, the stressful environment we found ourselves in for over a year, and I know the other part of this is we're trying to now step out in that life is normal, and it's almost becoming more stressful because life isn't normal. So we're sort of in this flux of trying to tell our brain, yeah, it's normal, right? It's normal. I can go do these things, but it's not. And that's sort of skewing us. But back to your question, the belly, getting the weight in the belly tends to be an imbalance in there's two adrenal hormones. One is cortisol and one is DHEA. As the cortisol, the stress hormone, increases, it is actually known as a belly fat hormone. So it will cause a little paunchiness there in the belly. So it can be from stress, but also naturally that our adrenal stress hormones typically decrease throughout age, and around that mid 50s to early 60s is a big tipping point for a lot of folks. So I would highly recommend, it's a saliva test actually, is getting those hormones checked so they can be checked for a normal, but also for sex and age. So we want to see what's the normal. If you're 60, then a woman that's in her 60s, we want to know that normal and compare you to that. Blood work, that's just virtually impossible to do. Where saliva, we can do that. Let's see, any other questions here, folks? Anything else going on? All right, so again, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.